Thanks for having us on again to present our IP, Render Steel. My name is Brett Ashcroft. I'm the CEO and one of the managing members. And also just to kind of brief, I have also on call today our software designer who will help to answer some questions when I wrap this up. So firstly, we're going to cover our problem that we're trying to tackle, the solution to it, the market as it exists today, competition, milestones, SaaS projections, and then our company structure and advisors. So firstly, I mean, what we're doing with estimating software is we're assisting both general contractors and developers to estimate the amount of materials that are in a blueprint. So I'm going to get to another slide that I created to follow up on some questions that came from the first presentation I did with Startup NV. But basically, RFPs go out to developers, they go out to general contractors and subcontractors that will ask them, you know, what does it take, how much is it going to cost to bid each individual portion of a construction project. It can go from steel, drywall, and plumbing. Currently, we're focusing on the steel aspect of it. So to solve this problem, what we're doing is we're developing a deep database based on blueprints that we've had access to through one of our managing members, James Wiest. He actually is a steel estimator for a local steel contractor. So we've had access to databases of blueprints both from Northern Nevada, Northern California. So we're developing that database that's going to basically extract steel elements from the blueprints, which are, you know, most important to our purview of what we're doing right now, and then be able to measure them and give us what they call the takeoff, which will tell us what is the weight of a project by the material that we're trying to estimate. And then hopefully in further stages also to help to bid out what's going to be the added cost of labor going into that as well. Looking at the market as it is, the value of it, iron and steel produced in 2017, just worldwide, you know, it's $2.5 trillion. If we just crunch it down to the US numbers of all estimators, $3.3 billion in labor costs are going to be attributed to estimators that have to do with general contractors and construction services. So that's how much those individuals that just work on deciphering blueprints and giving these estimates get paid around the United States. If we look at the SAM, if we're replacing the industry, I mean, of course, it'd have to be a discount below what that $3 billion number is. But I mean, that would be $1 to $2 billion. And then the SOM $300 million software market, what we're looking at right now, most of these estimators don't do it by hand like my partner James does. They use some sort of software, and there are plenty of them in the market as well. Looking at competition that exists right now. So got PlanSwift, Bluebeam, FabTroll, Tekla, and Assemble Systems. So as the most important one that I want to address today that is new to this presentation is the Assemble Systems. It's owned by AutoCAD. So one question has popped up with you know, different people that we've spoken to is what can AutoCAD do, since they are someone who originally helps to design blueprints. They should be able to reverse engineer that. But we've actually found that they have not organically developed anything. They basically went out into the market, looked for a separate estimating IP software that was already doing this, and they acquired them. So there is a market for acquisitions in this market of software as well. And what they basically do is they help to build 3D models based on the original CAD files, and then they allow the estimators to kind of navigate around a project in 3 dimensions and bid the different parts of the project. So that really doesn't apply to a standard estimating procedure. If you're going to see an RFP, there's going to be what they call a builder's exchange. They're going to post the project to a builder's exchange. There's going to be bids from a lot of unknown entities that they may not be familiar with. Those individuals are not going to be trusted with the original CAD files. So they're going to be receiving PDFs. In this sense, there's not a competition that we've been able to identify that is looking at it from a realistic perspective of what an estimator actually does. And they also constantly go over a project over and over again, kind of reconfiguring it and re-estimating it until they actually win that bid. After they win the bid, they may or may not receive the CAD files to build a 3-dimensional model. But until then, they're going to be, you know, going through a lot of files in order to determine what is the price and weight of this bid. And again, also one other thing I didn't add is it's not an artificial intelligence tool. It's still something, what AutoCAD purchased is something that allows measurements in 3 dimensions. It's not going to pick up those items automatically. They still have to have an estimator there measuring those items. And also getting into the process of how actually estimating works. And I sat down and got all this information with the steel company that Jim works for. So we broke it down piece by piece. I'll cover it really quickly. First, a general contractor, they receive the RFP. They might have to, shuffle through 10 or more jobs before accepting one, because that job also has to be feasible to the subcontractor that's going to be bidding that portion. If it's not feasible, they're going to pass it up, but they still have to have the estimator look over all these RFPs first before they even decide, do I want to bid it or not? They need to review the PDF files for feasibility, as I said. Then they have to submit a bid. Sometimes it's time sensitive, so the jobs are not assured to these individuals. They have to reevaluate the blueprints after the bid is done for changes, and that happens quite frequently. The developers will change this or that. They have to rebid it after they get those back. And then the next part is they give this to what they call a detailer. And the detailer, they will zoom in on the actual components and the joints of, let's say, steel beams, for instance, and they will build a zoomed in model of where all the rivets, the bends, and all the different assembly pieces go. And then they kick that back and forth, and basically we'll have to still remeasure, relook at these items, most likely through software, to make sure that everything is still consistent with the budget that they're working within, in addition to their contingencies. So after that's all done, the parts are ordered and assembled by the general contractor, and their employees will go fit it into the work site. You can't return parts, so we've been asked that question as well. How much does it save, a general contractor or a subcontractor that is delivering these parts to a work site? If they mess up on an estimate, on a bid, they're going to be stuck with those. They're going to stockpile them. It might not even be feasible to melt them down and ship them back to China. Sometimes they do that, but usually they just get stockpiled. And as far as what the estimating process normally requires, it's about 30 hours of work per $1 million of material that they're bidding when it comes to steel. So detailing in itself can take a month or more, in addition to what the estimators are doing in their part. So that whole process, you have people using this software over and over again, not just for the bidding process. So where are we looking at? Oh, 2 minutes. Okay, I'll wrap it up. So basically, as I was saying, the biggest savings are going to be from, getting away from shoddy work where we don't have good detailers doing the work. That's kind of a second phase I want to touch on, is to have an AI system that could do the detailing work in the future as well, automatically look at where the details go and build out that model as well. And then just looking at some prices, the bidders exchange packages up to $1,500 a month, per use models $80 to $100. And then depending on the software, anywhere from $1,000 to $27,000, depending on the suite. They're all customized. So there's profitability in there if you have a good piece of software. Everything that exists, linear, drag, and measure, no artificial intelligence. Milestones, we're looking to build the GUI interface in Q1, distribute our adversarial network to fill in the blanks on the blueprint, which I can address in questions later, and then onboard clients, and then do the beta testing. Looking at a revenue model, I know we're cutting short here, but I mean, this model is just assuming that we're going to be getting a $1,700 max revenue per client, very conservative. If we can really beat what's out there, we can make customized suites for businesses. So 0 debts and loans outstanding. We're incorporated in Nevada. We have general counsel, and the beta is ready for demonstration. Advisors, David Rosa, he's the owner of Wallace Steel. James Wiest, he's managing member as well. He is one of the longest tenured steel estimators in Nevada. Nick Mastriani, he's a boss in another company that I work for as well. He's a real estate developer on the East Coast. They are all advisors that I have access to. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up, and I will be available for questions, as will Joseph Singer, who you see there as well.